Rocky Mountain Construction, or commonly referred to as RMC, is one of the best coaster manufacturing companies out there, even though they just started making coasters in 2011, and they've made almost 25 of them. Out of those, I've ridden 7 of those, 4 being hybrid, and 3 being wood. So today I will be ranking them up from worst to best. The fact that I put Goliath at the lowest spot on this list just shows how good the company is, because Goliath is already in my top 25, ranking at number 23. This ride is really good, with the first drop in the back row giving a lot of ejector airtime, and the first turnaround giving some pretty decent airtime on the way out, and the ejector hill giving solid ejector airtime for quite a few seconds. After that, the dive loop is pretty good, giving some decent hang time. And then you have the stall, which is literally the dive loop but way better. And then you have a few turns and airtime hills into the brake run. Overall, a really short but fun ride. Storm Chaser is one of the most aggressive RMCs out there, but it doesn't have a ton of variety, similar to a ride you'll see later on this list, but it's still a really good ride for what it has. The barrel roll down drop is pretty good, and the first camelback gives violent ejector airtime. After that, you have a little bit of variety in between elements, but mostly turns and a few airtime hills. You turn around and go right back towards the ride plaza with an airtime hill into a 0G roll, and this 0G roll is very floaty in most rows. After that, you have the trick track double up, which is really fun, and a few airtime hills into a helix, which is kind of rare for an RMC, into the brake run. Overall, this is a really fun RMC coaster that isn't talked about enough. Outlaw Run is a really good RMC wooden coaster, mainly for its out of control and violent elements like most RMCs, but with an absolutely crazy setting, being down in the woods and some of the ride being in a ravine, which mainly includes the first drop and step downs and airtime hills into the double barrel roll finale. By the way, the first drop is absolutely incredible, getting you flung out of your seat mainly because the pre-drop gave you a bit of speed going into it. After that, you have a mix of airtime hills, inversions, and turns before going into the ravine yet again for a few more airtime hills and step downs before going into the finale of the ride. This, of course, is the double barrel roll finale, which is a very, very good element. On the first barrel roll, you get quite a bit of whip, but on the second one, you get more hang time and floatiness as you go through it before going into the brake run. Also, night rides on this coaster are an absolute must-do while you're at Silver Dollar City because of the wooded setting. Also, that camera flash in the middle of the ride really gets you and screws up your vision for the rest of the ride until you hit the brake run. Twisted Timbers is the definition of using Control-C and Control-V to create a coaster, and they did it so well because the airtime is so strong. First of all, the barrel roll down drop like the one on Storm Chaser is really good, and then you have the bunny hill, which actually gives not too much airtime, but quite a bit of laterals. After that, you go into an overbank, which doesn't do much, and then you have the triple camelback, which launch you out of your seat, especially if you get some wiggle room with the RMC lap bars. After that, you go into a cutback, which is a nice variation to the ride, and then you go into a trick track double up and some more airtime hills, which are all very good. After that, you have this weird outer banked airtime hill that is a turnaround, and it is really good, providing sustained outer bank ejector airtime. After that, you have a few more airtime hills and a 0G roll, which is very floaty, before hitting the brake run. Overall, this is a very good RMC coaster, even though it is a bit repetitive. Steel Vengeance. Where can I start? The fact that I put this at number 3 will probably trigger every RMC fanboy, or every fan of coasters in general, and make them unsubscribe. The first drop in the back row is really good, and the bunny hill that follows is okay. After that, you have the top hat and the outer bank. I actually think that the top hat is better, but I know how some people would like the outer bank more, and I understand. After that, you go through the structure and go through 2 inversions, a 0G roll, which is pretty snappy, and a 0G stall, which is literally amazing. After that, you have a few more airtime hills and step downs and step ups before hitting the mid-course brake run. After that, if you get trimmed on the mid-course, then the ride is kind of bland, but if it doesn't, you're in for a pretty good ride. Overall, Steel Vengeance is a really good RMC, but I had to put the 2 other RMCs at the top of this list over it, for a few reasons. Lightning Rod is an absolutely world-class coaster. First of all, the launch up the mountainside is really good, And the drop that follows is really good too. After that, you have a wave turn, which gives sustained flowjector airtime in most rows, and then the twist and shouts, which are very, very good elements. The first one is a lot more sustained than the second one, but both of them give great ejector airtime. After that, you have a step up into the quad down, which is the best part of the ride. And by the way, this step up is a sleeper hit of the ride. You get absolutely flung out of your seat while trying to go up that hillside. And after that, the quad down is a bit overrated, but it still gives very, very good pops of ejector airtime. After that, you go straight down into an airtime hill before going up into a half loop for some reason, which is an okay element before hitting the brake run. At the number 1 spot, I had to just put Iron GWAZI. This ride is incredible in every way. First of all, the first drop is absolutely godly in the back, even if they slow you down at the top of the lift. After that, you have an outer rank airtime hill, which isn't as good as on the one as Steel Vengeance, but it still gives some pretty good airtime. After that, you go up into the death roll, and this death roll is really good. It kind of feels like the stall on Steel Vengeance, as you get whipped violently on that one, and you have the same feeling on this one. After that, you have an overbanked turn, which counts as an inversion for some reason. I don't think it is. Before going into the best part of the ride, the wave turn over the station. This wave turn gives probably the strongest moment of ejector I've ever experienced. You are literally flying out of your seat for an entirety of 2 or 3 seconds on this airtime hill. After that, you have a few more step ups and wave turns before going into the 0G stall. While this stall is good, it isn't as sustained as other ones like Goliath, so it isn't as good. After a few more very strong ejector hills, you hit the brake run with a ton of speed, ending your ride on Iron GWAZI. If you disagree or agree with these opinions, make sure to drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, while you're at it, make sure to like and subscribe, as I really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 750 subscribers by the end of the year. Also, if you want to check out my off-ride channel, I post daily off-ride content that is free to use anywhere on YouTube. Anyways, that is it for this video. As always, have a great rest of your day, and see you guys.